outside, round the outside. Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Guess who's back? Back again. Yeah, Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Back again. Phoebe's back. Tell your friends. Don't fall, you bitch. I think I'm going to give up all of my earthly possessions, sell them all to buy a camper van, and start living on the road again. I can feasibly do that till my kid's what, like 5 or 6? I know you have to get them started in school at some point, but what's actually stopping me other than that? No, that's a lie. I can't give up. Like, I'm so fucking conflicted in life, right? Because I'm one of these people that wants to be exploring constantly. I want to be going and doing things. I want to be living on the road or doing something. I want to be doing something interesting. I want to have the freedom that that gives me access to. But then at the same time, I want to have a quiet, calm, well-ordered place I can go home to at the end of my travels, and I can sit around and smoke weed and hang out with my kid and hang out with my partner and my family, right? I like that. I like all of those things, but I want them all at the same time, and it's kind of like impossible to have them all at the same time unless you're super wealthy. So I think really what I'm really looking forward is like what I'm really looking for is not the freedom that the road confers, but rather the freedom that being rich confers. Because if I had the right amount of money, I could totally just like pay somebody to manage the farm for a month while I, go off and do whatever. Greetings, Bender. The hammer is here. The hammer is here, yes. The hammer is here. I think a lot of people probably haven't even figured out that I've switched streams, that I'm on a new one. But those of you who do, make sure you guys hit that like button as you come in. It really does help. We made $150, by the way, last night. Almost 150. It wasn't quite 150, but we made almost 150 bucks last night. Let's try to get it to $50 today. Probably, I mean, this probably won't be our only stream today. There'll probably more as the day goes by, but I could probably do another one at night like I normally do. But yeah, let's try and get it up there, dude. Like, let's get another let's get up to 50 again. So if you've got some money burning a hole in your wallet, consider super chatting. You guys know the drill. You guys know what to do. I think money comes with freedom, but investment comes with strings. Money comes with freedom, but investment comes with strings. I mean, I guess technically true, but it doesn't really investment you're doing. Like, you can invest in just stocks and bonds and have comparatively little strings, So, like, especially, like, if you're invested enough. Like, if you've got enough assets in the form of stock, then it really doesn't matter if you don't have that much liquid, Because you can just sell those things. You can make them into money whenever you need them to be. Well, number one, Scoots Magoots, I'm not a man. And number two, I'm not begging for money on the internet. I'm asking for people to support a creator that they enjoy watching if they should have the money and inclination to do so. Are those rabbits? A couple of chickens and a holding cage over there. There's some chickens over there. Investments tie you down sometimes, but if we're dreaming about being rich, that solves that problem, actually. Yeah, that's what I would argue, is that if you're wealthy, that problem is pretty much solved for you instantly. It's like, yeah, it ties you down in theory, I guess, but does it really? We're going to go ahead and set up idiot mode from the go because I don't trust people in this chat. I don't trust people that are just on the random internet in general. Like, people say all kinds of crazy, wild shit these days. And when we did the earlier stream earlier, like that, I think part of the reason why it collapsed is because I didn't have slow mode and shit turned on. So we're going to try it with slow mode turned on this time. We're going to see how we do. Hello, all. Hello, Cummy Nipples. Welcome back. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. It really does help. Every single time you have the chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people engaging in the chat. So please consider sending that like button. I'm sorry, hitting that like button. And send a super chat if you want to make sure your question gets read. I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. What does transfemme mean? That it's like another way of saying a trans woman. So like trans mask would be like like. So basically, it's a more general, broad way of referring to people who are trans in a given direction, right? So transfemme would be someone who was assigned male at birth and now identifies as something on the gender spectrum of femininity. So someone like me, right? I consider myself a transfemme. Like, I'm a trans woman, therefore making me transfemme. You can be a transfemme person without necessarily being a trans woman, but now we're getting into all kinds of like deeper queer theory, and there's a lot of average Americans that would be completely confused in this conversation right now, just because I'm saying you can be a trans woman, but also not technically be like a woman by yourself. Like, no, it's hard to explain, right? If you're not within the queer community and you're not already abridged of some of the lore, so to speak. But gender is a huge spectrum. People make fun of the left by saying 72 genders or whatever. People make fun of queer advocates by saying that. The fact of it is, I don't think any queer advocate would ever be so short-sighted as to limit it to 72. The truth of it is, there are as many genders as there are people who want to express a gender. There are as many fucking sexualities as people want to be attracted to. There are as many movements as people want to start. There's many ways to identify yourself as people can come up with words to do so with. So, not cute either. Well, that's up to your interpretation. There are plenty of people who think I am. Plenty of people who think I am. Oh, Lord have mercy. Post Music is probably having a chill old time. I don't know where Posty is at. Draft dodger? Bro, I am way too physically fucked up for the draft to take me, even if I wasn't trans. But I got news for you. I have been trans since 2020. And during that time, there were 4 years of a liberal administration, towards the end of which I actually decided maybe I'll go into the Navy, Now, I ended up aborting those plans once Trump won the presidency because I knew that trans people are not going to be allowed in the military. But far from it. While I might be a pacifist philosophically, I also have a family and an interest in living an interesting and successful life. So I really did legitimately consider the military, even for years after coming out as trans, because it's a good way to make steady money and develop a really strong sense of discipline and things like that. There are utilities to military life that I recognize, even if I don't think the military has been used for very good things over the last 20, 30 years, You wouldn't have passed the bar? Well, you don't have to pass the bar to join the military. So there's that. I'm low-key thinking of that time my dad called me the F-slur for playing Pokemon Go. That's a really sad reason to call someone the F-slur. I mean, that's way less justified than somebody, like, interrupting you constantly and, like, being a weak little bitch on their public appearance with you. Sorry, that's some deep lore. Only way you know that or get that is if you're somebody that's been watching the channel for a while. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that like button. There's over 200 people watching right now. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would instantly have 100 likes. So please, double tap your screen, hit the little bar over here. Either way, it doesn't really matter. Either way, it helps me. Thank you so much. I call out people F-slurs all the time over less stuff. Well, I really don't care what anybody calls anybody else for any reason. I mean, like, I care in a tertiary sense, I guess. Like, if I see somebody being, like, actively hateful to a gay person, that's one thing. But if you just call somebody a faggot because they, like, here's the thing for me, right? I think it's only a slur if you're using it as a slur. If you're using it in any other way, it might still be cringe. It might still be something I wouldn't do, but I don't think it's the same thing. Like, if you knock something over and you're like, ah, fucking faggot, like, did you just use a slur at the cup you knocked over? Like, doesn't it lose some of its power if you're using it for things other than its intended audience or whatever? Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's the way I've always felt about it. Phoebe, what do you think about Trump's tariffs today on Switzerland and stuff? Plus or minus 39%. That's pretty fucking high. I think like this Trump tariff shit, I was talking about it on the stream earlier today. It's kind of fucked up that I honestly thought that this shit would be over like 2 months ago. I legitimately thought that eventually people would move on. I thought that Trump himself would eventually move on, settle on some specific rates for these different countries. There have been so many fucking times when it seemed like a trade deal was happening with this, that, or the other country, only for it to turn out to not happen. There have been so many fucking times when there have just been so many developments on this that haven't led to anything, and now we've got this official announcement, this official policy, and there's like, it's going to happen on August 7th. But mind you, there were a whole bunch of tariffs that were supposed to take effect back in June, a whole bunch of tariffs that were supposed to take effect back in July. I mean, like, this tariffs thing, it's like a continuously moving goalpost. It's a goalpost on wheels that is never satisfied. It's never fully anchored to any one position. So who the fuck knows what the tariff situation in America is going to be like in a few months? Who the fuck knows if we'll even get a settled completion of this issue within the 4 years that Trump has? I genuinely think that Trump will be engaged in a trade war for the rest of his presidency. Because and it's something I was saying earlier too, there's a type of American exceptionalism which Donald Trump embodies that says America ever, and our deals can fuck over other people, but none of their deals can fuck. And we can't have equilateral trade agreements because that fucks over us because we're better than them. So the only way to not fuck over us is to give us deference. That sort of American exceptionalism only works domestically. As far as like getting policies engaged in, like, you can have people do all kinds of jingoistic bullshit here domestically, but China doesn't give a shit about the fact that you think America is the best country on the planet. Britain doesn't give a shit about the fact that you think you're the best country on the planet. Germany doesn't give a fuck about the fact that you think you're the best country on the planet. And the same can be said for most of these countries. The same can be said for most of these countries that America and American politicians like Donald Trump want to get America these like super sweetheart fucking trade deals. And they don't seem to even recognize the fact that they're engaging in a deal. They're engaging in a fucking interaction. It's a transaction. There's some give and some take. Hello, everyone. Welcome to stream. This gives you a firsthand account of where your tax dollars go while you work. There are people like this living the good life for free. Huh? Free samples. Where the fuck you getting that from, bud? I got news for you. Ain't a motherfucker subsidizes my life that doesn't choose to do so with their donations to this channel. My family receives WIC like every other working class family that has a young child. But other than that, I don't receive shit paid for by the taxpayers. And I don't get WIC. My kid and my partner get WIC. And I guess I occasionally eat a bowl of cereal out of the cereal, so I guess I'm benefiting in that way. But if you're going to tell me that America can afford, America can afford hundreds of billions of dollars on military equipment and military expansion and American imperialism, but we can't afford $200 a month for people to be able to get formula and shit without having to come out of their own pocket, I'm going to look you in the face and tell you you're full of shit. Are you he, she, it? She or it works. Yeah, she or it would be preferred. By the way, there's 460 people watching right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, we would have 230 fucking subscribers. We would have 230 likes like that. So double tap your screen or hit the little bar. And if you want to make sure your question gets read, consider sending a super chat. We haven't gotten any today, but we do have a daily donations goal of $50, and we have not gotten anything but $2 today, and that was on the earlier stream. This stream has seen none. So if you want to make sure that your message gets read, consider sending a super chat. It's also just a great way to tell me, hey, I like having these conversations. I like the fact that you're out here arguing with people that disagree with you, you know? I never want to see this shit again. Too bad, because I'm fucking camping the algorithm like a motherfucker. So you better get used to me. I'm going to have to turn on idiot mode, aren't I? Oh, damn, I already have. Dude, I already have idiot mode on, so I've gained a shit ton of subscribers. This is interesting, actually. So we're going to set it to 5 minutes sub mode, and the message delay we're going to remain the same. Oh, thank you, Black Lark, for the $5. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you. If anybody else wants to send a super chat, make sure that you do that. It's a great way to make sure your question gets read, or your sentence or whatever you want to send. Wish I could help you with this shit, chat, but I'm working right now. American culture has been kind of fried under our current leadership. Chat's proof. Yeah, well, I mean, I agree and I disagree, Black Lark. Part of it, right? Like, yeah. And by the way, I don't blame you. You're at work. Don't worry about this, chat. Not your responsibility. That's why I have so many mods, is that there's always one or two hanging out that can help me manage things, you know? But, does that say what I think it says? No. Okay. Yeah, chat's kind of proof of it, but you also have to consider that the MAGA movement probably employs thousands of public narrative bots. That's what I'm calling them. Bots whose entire purpose is to manufacture consent for things that the Trump administration or its cronies want to do. And I think that this kind of thing is not just used by the Trump administration, but I think in this case, with all this MAGA shit we see, I think a lot of it is done by the Trump administration and people juiced in with them in order to make it seem like there's bolstered public support for the horrible policies that Trump and his ilk engage in. They want us all to think that this is how everybody believes. They want us all to think that this is how everybody thinks. And so you have to consider that some of the people in here doing that shit are just bots. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. It really does help. You the only streamer I've seen that always has an idiot mode on because you're so unpopular? Bro, literally, Daniel, the only reason you need idiot mode on is if you're popular. You. Popularity is people reacting to you. People finding you, like, incapable of walking away from. That is what it means to be popular. People are so gross. Loves you. Oh, thank you, Kayla. I appreciate that so much, Kayla. Are you the same Kayla from the DFF community, or are you the Kayla that hangs out in here? Because there are two different Kaylas that I know. Or you might be the Kayla that I used to know back in Carrollton. I don't know. There are like 3 Kaylas that I know that I like. So you might be either one of them. I appreciate it, though. And whatever one of those you are, I love you, too. Phoebe, I'm going to buy a MAGA hat. Buy me one. Dude, Ben, will you buy me one? I want a MAGA hat. I'm not even a MAGA, but I want a MAGA hat. You know why? Because I want to sit in my I want to sit in my set, right? I want to sit in my little studio area with the phone set up and the queer flag behind me and the fucking don't like this machine kills fascists and the squatters' rights thing, right? All of that leftist shit, and then I got a MAGA hat on. You know, like we talked about this as a gag for April Fools, but I've thought about it more, and I think it would just be a funny gag in general. By the way, Kayla, thank you for the $19.99. I did forget to say thank you for that, so I do appreciate it. If anybody else wants to send a super chat, consider doing so. It's a great way to financially support the channel, support it in philosophy, and to make sure that your question gets read. Okay, I will, bruz. Sweet. Stop giving this money and supporting him to sit at home and not work. Oh, man, Scoots McGurts, you're so fucking hurt, aren't you? Your little bitch-ass feelings are so hurt by the fact that there's somebody like me out here that's talented enough and charming enough to convince other people to support them in their mission to sit around and yap. I know. Sucks, doesn't it? You're probably fine with Bill Maher having that job. You're fine with Donald Trump having that job. You're fine with Ted Carlson having that job, or Tucker Carlson, sorry, Ted Carlson. You're fine with all of those people having their jobs where they just get to sit around, do nothing, and talk all day, right? But for me, that's a horrible thing, even though I'm probably engaging in more daily activity than any of those dudes are. at least more responsibility based and like daily activity. They probably live pretty busy lives, but none of it's shit that they have to do or their world falls apart. Everything I do in my daily basis, not everything that I do on like just the day to day for me, is shit that I have to do falls apart. Shit, like honestly, like doing these streams is my only form of income. I live in a multi-income household. I'm a stay-at-home parent, so it's not like I'm in some horrible poorhouse situation. But as far as like my personal income, these streams are that. It's like a part-time job for me. I dedicate between 2 to 4 hours of my day every single day to these streams, which adds up to, let's see, 7 times 4, 7, 14, 21, 28. So that's about 28 hours a week. That's about what you would do if you were working a part-time job, you know? So I'm streaming, I'm taking care of my kid all day during the days till my partner, my mother-in-law get home from work, and then they can take over more or less, but I'm still spending a lot of time with him until he goes to bed. Him and my partner go to bed at the same time. They go to bed earlier than I do because they've got to, well, I guess my partner has to wake up early in the morning. Obviously, the baby will usually wake up for a few minutes when they get up and go to work, but he falls right back asleep usually till around 8. Your partner. Why are you laughing about that, Scoots? What, do you find it inconceivable that I could have a partner? How about this, Scoots? What do you think my body count is, Scoots? Don't hide. Don't hide. Don't hide. I want new rule, okay? These controls that just can't get enough of me, that want to sit around and talk about how I'm unappealing or disgusting or reprehensible or whatever, but they literally hang around for 30 minutes or more, those motherfuckers, we ain't going to ban them anymore. We're going to let them sit and stew in their ineptitude. We're going to give them a reason to come back stream after stream after stream after stream and see me succeeding. So I don't want to see a single message banned from Scoots Magoots if it doesn't violate the TOS. If he tries to dox me or some shit like that, then yes, ban his ass. But outside of that, oh man, I got this man so mad. I literally just told my mods not to ban you so that you could sit around and get more bitter about me getting successful. What on earth makes you think I'm mad? Literally. Suddenly I'm on top of the world. It should somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Never thought it would be this. What's the line? Never thought I would be this cool. Believe it or not, it's just me. You didn't even respond to the partner thing? Yes, I did. I said, why are you laughing at it? Like, what is so inconceivable about that? And then I asked you, what do you think my body count is? And as far as I know, you have an answer. Know that you use the word partner? Oh, well, why is that weird? I'm trans, my partner is trans, so yeah, they're my partner. We're both queer. Unless you're 12, then you've been around the internet long enough to know that queer people usually call their boyfriend or girlfriend their partner, regardless of what sex and gender they are. Although I will say, lesbians, like cis lesbians and cis gay men these days are more and more likely to use the term boyfriend or girlfriend, but that's a recent development. That's a recent development, my friend. For years and years, it was way more standard to hear partner. It was almost like one of those weird little things where if somebody said it, you could be like, oh, okay, that person's gay, you know? And nowadays, a lot of straight people have started using it too in order to kind of take the heat off of gay people. But ultimately, I think that gay people are going to get heat no matter what, because there's going to be bigots no matter what, until we figure out how to get people out of poverty in high enough numbers to allow people to really come together and unite and allow contact theory to happen. There's a lot of change before we really nick fucking bigotry in the bud. And until that time, I think gay people will be better off learning how to cope with bigotry and learning how to actively fight against institutionalized forms of it rather than getting super offended by it, right? That's why I don't get all up in arms and up in tears about somebody calling me a faggot, because you know what? I've been called way fucking worse in my life by way smarter and better people. How about my male wife and my girl husbando? I don't like those, man. Just call me a slur, please. Just call me a faggot already. Please, please. That's genuinely how I feel about some of this euphemistic language that comes out of the like uber online queer community. And I know for a lot of people probably think I'm part of that, but still, like, the husbando thing is like the most cringe fucking thing in the world. I use partner for my wife. It's somewhat culturally more normal up here in Seatown. That's actually really cool, Black Lark. That's actually really nice. That's pretty fucking neat, honestly. I'm the Tumblr weeb gay. I'm sorry. It's okay, Sabine. It's okay. I like you. You're fun, Sabine. You're totally fine. I like that name, by the way. I've always liked that name. It's a shame that you share a name with Sabine Hossenfelder, though, because she's a retarded, ascientific science educator. In Ireland, we say partner for men and women, but I thought it was just for gay people. I thought I should be offended by the very use of the word. I use whatever slur I want because hate speech isn't really just sensitive people crying. I think you meant isn't real. Your arguments would have a lot more effect and a lot more weight if you could learn how to spell check and, like, what's the word? Like proofread? Yeah. Gross. Well, hate speech isn't supporting the First Amendment. Well, I mean, there's a difference between like speech that is hateful and hate speech as a legal concept. There's a big difference between speech that should be illegal for some reason, for some like danger of justifying violence, like that, and speech that is hateful, right? I'm not a big fan of the legal framework of hate speech. I think that in general, we should try and allow people to say what they want and say what they think and what they feel and everything. But, to say that there are never going to be cultural repercussions for hateful speech is to just ignore the material reality of people's lives. I wonder if I donate enough money to Trump, he'll deport Scoots to CCOT. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We can always try, right? We can get all the donations together. We can pool them all together and see what happens. How long have you been trans? Let's see. About 5 years and 3 months now, actually. I had to do the math real quick. But yeah, about 5 years and 3 months. I live in Canada. We went over this. Hey, you guys are all Americans. I don't give a shit. The whole world is America. Dude, Rammstein told you guys about this years ago. We're all living in America. America ist wunderbar. We're all living in America. 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 I think we need to make Canada the 51st state. Yes, I feel like that's about the change. But why, Ben? Why would we fuck up the lives of innocent Canadians and force them to live under the shitty American healthcare system? Why would we do that? You know what I want to do? I want to make America's 50 states the 50 new Canadian provinces. Yep, and I'm calling it the anti-Scotty Kirk position. I want to fuck America invading Canada? No. Canada invading America, though? Now you're talking. Because America, Phoebe. America, fuck yeah. Some of you guys are kind of like caricatures, but at least you're self-aware, I wish we could get that kind of self-awareness on the left sometimes. Why don't you move there? Because I'm poor. Because I'm working class. Because honestly, even if you're a fucking doctor, Canada doesn't want you right now. Canada has way too many people. Canada ain't looking for immigrants right now. They still have a refugee program because they're a moral country that knows that they have obligations on the world stage, but they're not looking for a whole bunch of skilled immigrants right now. So even if you're a doctor or a lawyer or something, it can be really difficult to get into even Canada right now as an American. But frankly, it's not very easy to immigrate out of America to anywhere else. America is a unique country, right? There's a bunch of reasons why I wouldn't move out of America. Let's just go over all of them. Number one, America is a unique country in the fact that it is easy to move here, whether legally or illegally. There are a number of options that you have for that, but it is very difficult to move from America to anywhere else, right? So you can come here pretty easily. Leaving, though, that's pretty difficult. Most other countries want you to have some kind of skilled trade. They want you to have some kind of profession. They want you to have they want you to bring something to their country that they can't get on their own, right? And if you can't bring that, then you basically have no chances of immigrating successfully to any other country. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, I'm a fucking American. I know you don't like me because I'm trans or because I'm openly leftist or because I'm openly queer, whatever, right? But that's American. Just the same as you being Christian and conservative is American. Because it's all American. Because America is one of the fucking few countries on the planet where you can be whatever the fuck you want to be. America is one of the few countries on the planet that has enshrined that into a constitution that can only be changed by a collective vote of 2/3 of the states. Direct democracy, baby. I love that. There's a lot of things that I really fucking feel proud of when I think about the idea behind America, when I think about the concept of America, the premise of America. It's America's failure to enact that premise adequately that I take umbrage with. Part of being an American is criticizing America. Part of being an American is recognizing when we do the wrong thing, recognizing when we behave in a bad way, when we, well, like I said, do the wrong thing. Part of being an American is recognizing those times and dealing with them adequately and appropriately. How long have you been? Well, I've been gay my whole life, or queer, or whatever you want to call it. I would consider myself bisexual, but I've been bi my whole life. I first started to realize that I was into like girls and boys both when I was probably like, um, I guess I probably would have been like 10 or 12, maybe. It's hard to know exactly when, but my fantasy life always included people of both sexes and both genders, and people of ambiguous and ambivalent gender. So um, I've always been bi. When I came out when I was 15. Or was I 14? No, I would have been 15. Yeah, so I came out when I was 15, 12 years ago. Came out as bi, came out as trans, so about 5.5 years ago, give or take. Why can't you see Scotty is right? Because Scotty is fucking wrong, dude. Let's export all of America's worst traits to our closest and best neighbor, right? Our closest neighbor, the one that gives us the least trouble, the one that like treats its workers the best compared to our other neighbor, right? Like if you're looking at Mexico and Canada as political entities, not cultural entities, but political entities, Canada is clearly the better neighbor, you know? Just like in all the ways you would consider that if you're kind of like a left-leaning person like I am. So why would we export all of our worst fucking traits, all of our worst impulses to our best neighbor? They can't be trusted, they're too nice. That's exactly what I like about them. I like the fact that they can't be trusted. I like the fact that they're out there, that maybe someday we'll get invaded by Canadians and we'll all be made to eat maple syrup and poutine and we'll all be happier for it. You know what? I support the arrival of our Canadian overlords. In fact, if Canada ever did invade, this is gonna be a fucked up joke. If Canada ever did invade and then they threatened to like leave, like pull out and go back to Canada, I would literally be like those black people on plantations when the Union soldiers would roll through and they would just be like, "Take me with you, please!" Running off the plantations to like they can't even join the Union Army because there's just not like an outfit made out for them yet. So they're just like hanging out with the Union Army, helping to cook the meals and doing some combat engineer shit, but they're not like they haven't been trained how to use rifles or anything like that. So they're literally just a bunch of like former slaves that are like just happy to be in the company of better people. That would be me if Canada ever invaded and tried to leave. What are your thoughts on warrant falling down, term limits, LOL, and Asmongold? So on term limits, I think that term limits are um, I think the term limits are important. I think that keeping somebody in power for too long enables stagnation in your politics, and I think it creates an atmosphere where it's way harder to get things moving and it's way harder to keep things moving as a political entity. So in general, I'm all about term limits. I'm all for them. I do think that a good politician should be allowed to stay in office long enough to make some meaningful change. So I'm not necessarily a fan of super like hardcore short term limits, you know? I would say 10 to 12 years is a good reign of power for an average American politician, from House member to president. You know, you can spend 12 years as a House member, 12 years as a senator, 12 years as a president. You get a maximum of a 36-year political career. Assuming you get into politics when you're 25, that means that you'll be right around 62 when you get out of politics, when you're officially termed out of all the major positions in this country. You might be able to go serve 8 years maybe as a state senator or something like that, but you can no longer serve in politics. That would fucking fix so fucking many in this country when it comes to the stagnation of the will of the people, when it comes to the stagnation of the legislature. Literally, just that alone, which does not sound like a crazy amount of term limit, does it? That sounds like plenty of time. If you can't get your agenda even halfway done in 12 years, you probably ain't going to get it done in 80. Okay? If you can't manage to change the world with a coalition of fucking people that feel the same way as you do within 12 years, you ain't gonna do it within 1200. Change does not take that goddamn long. I'm sick of this fucking liberal lie. I am absolutely sick to death of the neoliberal lie that change necessarily mandates hundreds of years. No, it does not. The Bolshevik Revolution took Russia from a Tsarist fucking feudalist hellhole to an emerging communist state. It was quickly, turned into something that was very much not communist. I understand that. I'm not simping for the Soviet Union. But if we're talking about the scale of change, that happened within 20 years. Within 20 years, Russia went from one of the last feudalist countries on the planet to an emerging industrial power capable of building tanks. 20 years. Please give me 12 years of Trump. I'm sure you would like that quite a bit, but I'm not invested with the power that you would need to do that, unfortunately. Yeah, proud American. I don't know where you got these backwards ideas about gender, but I know for a fact that you were informed of them by some other person, And that's the beauty of it, right? I think you're more correct than I am because you feel like you've got some position over all these issues. You feel like you're in a better position than I am to be the judge of all these things and to judge me for them, right? You think that you're in the position to be a moral arbiter, to determine what is and is not the correct gender identity to have, or the correct concept about gender to have, when the truth of it is, you don't know any better than I do. We could both be wrong. Gender could be an alien concept introduced to our species to make us fucking more angry at each other. Gender could be a completely fucking phenomenon that just happened one day because of some conversation that was had between two primitive apes way long ago in the forest. And you know the reason for all of this? You want to know why it's such a up in the air issue that nobody's really got a good answer for? Because it's all human psychology. It's all shit that's based on our fucking presuppositions about life and our presuppositions about health and goodness and cooperation with other people and identity, and it's all shit that's not concrete. No one knows any better about this than any one of us. Oh, sorry. I had I had my baby sitting, you know, in their little stroller with its wheels locked a good distance away where I could watch them as they were taking their nap, but I could still hit my vape and stuff. And they woke up from their nap, so I had to bring them closer so I can keep an eye on them. Why do you grow out your hair out? Because I'm a chick that likes long hair? Why is bro wearing a window curtain as a skirt? Why is bro so stupid that they don't understand clothing? I don't know. Man, lots of questions from the chat today. You guys are just a bunch of winners tonight, I gotta tell you that much. What flavor of liquid do you have? This is actually Colombian peppermint coffee. Yeah. You like when your partner pulls your hair? It's none of your business. Have you ever thought about trying out cosplay? We need more trans folks in the community, and if so, do you have any cosplay ideas? Well, I actually used to LARP, so I used to kind of cosplay a little bit. I didn't, like, I guess it wasn't really cosplaying, though, because it wasn't like I had, like, a specific character from fiction in mind, but, like, I would create a character based on an amalgam of other characters. Like, at one time, I was playing a character that was based off of, like, the Monster Hunter main character kind of thing idea, and it was a combination of that and William Wallace, and somebody else was involved in the creation of that. I can't remember the character though, but it was like an amalgam, right? And then before that, I was playing an amalgam of like the dark sorcerer kind of archetype mixed with the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings, mixed with Link from Legend of Zelda, I guess. In the sense that I was like a swords person / ranger, kind of a tool user, rogue kind of thing. So I've engaged in similar things before. I don't know if I would ever do like the hardcore character-based cosplay, but I think it could be fun. I enjoy dressing up in costume. I think I would enjoy cosplay. I just don't have a drive for it, and that's the thing. I've gotten to a point in my life where I do not promise to engage or try to engage myself in hobbies that I'm not interested in organically, you know? So if I don't automatically want to do it on my own, if it's not something that I naturally have come to, you know, and developed an interest in, you know, it is what it is. I might think it's cool. It might be something I had enough money, but I'm not going to like pursue it because eventually I just get attached to the idea of doing it. Not even the practice necessarily itself, but just the idea of doing it. And it's just not good for my mental health. Plus, I end up making promises to people I can't keep and shit. So, you know, would I ever be interested in it? Yeah, maybe if I was in the right economic situation, if I had the right friend group, I could see myself enjoying it for sure. I've thought about honestly starting up, like when my kid gets a little older, I kind of want to start up a LARP group for around here, if we're still living around here, or for whatever area we're living in, if it doesn't have one already established, because I think that that would be a fun way for me to engage in that kind of love of costume and theater without breaking the bank or being expected to be like a perfect representation of whatever character I'm trying to be. You guys are being so kind in the chat. Thank you so much. By the way, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you want to make sure your question gets read, consider sending a super chat. Not only is it a great way to financially support the channel and let me know that you like what we're doing over here, but it's also just the best way to make sure your question gets read. Oh, Mike. Another little jealous bitch. Another little jealous bitch come to tell me how he doesn't like my hairstyle. How he thinks I'm ugly. Yeah, it really seems like I care, doesn't it? Commie nipples. Yeah. Cummy nipples is rage baiting, but that's the thing. You guys can choose whether or not you respond to cummy nipples, you know? Cummy nipples is a long time troll. They haven't been a long time troll over here on the Phoebe channel, but I can tell now that they've participated, I'm going to love their fucking interactions for the same reason that I like Post, for the same reason that I like Riley, for the same reason I like Modded Up or that are regulars. I like the people that help me dunk on the people that are being really dumb. I also like the people who just dunk on other people in chat generally, because I don't think Ben is that dumb. I think Ben is a pretty normal dude. I've had plenty of conversations with Ben. Ben seems like he's got some crazy ideas, but the Ben Cross fellow in chat we're talking about does not seem like he's overly bigoted or anything like that. He doesn't give me Nazi vibes, which is better than I can say about a lot of the fucking right-wing people that try and hang out in here. Yeah, Ben Dover, you know? Mike Hunt. Seymour Butts. I wonder if there's ever been a conference where a dude named Seymour Butts or like Mike Oxoff, you know? Like, I wonder if there's, like, what is the most phallic debate or conference or whatever do you think has ever happened? Like, is there a record of that? Do we know? Have Ben Dover, Mike Oxlong, and Seymour Butts, have they ever been in the same conference together? Calling the right-wing Nazis is the most ignorant thing you could do. Well, if you go back, listen, I didn't call the right-wing Nazis. I said that, I specifically said that Ben, the dude we were talking about in chat, is a more conservative guy. Seems like he disagrees with me quite a bit. But we've had enough conversations for me to know that he's a pretty normal dude. That the fact that he's right-wing doesn't mean that he's a Nazi. So I was literally actually advocating against the position you think I was advocating for because you weren't listening hard enough. So let me clarify the position again. I don't think everyone on the right wing is a Nazi. Now, I do think that Nazis are the ultimate logical end of the right wing, just like hardcore communism and hardcore anarchism are the ultimate, like, fully logical extension of the left wing, right? It is not dishonest or anything like that to point out the fact that these fucking positions have extremes, okay? Now, if we're going to acknowledge that these positions have extremes, we can also acknowledge that that means that most of the people that occupy these positions do not occupy those extremes, right? So, such is true of the left and the right. Now, I am part of the extreme on the left, but I think the extremes of the left are a little more tolerable than the extremes of the right, at least on the libertarian left. The authoritarian left, you've got a bunch of real crazy, weird shit that comes out on that side of politics. But I would counter it with the shit the authoritarian right says, you know? The authoritarian right says it wants to, you know, to deny women the franchise, and the authoritarian left says it wants to deny men the franchise. What's the real difference between these two? One of them has blue hair and the other has a MAGA hat, you know? But when it comes to, like, just general average people, I don't think most general average people in America are Nazis or crazy, like, authcoms, like we would call them on the left. I think that it's pretty uncommon, honestly, to find somebody of those particular positions. I think it's pretty difficult to find somebody of those particular positions here in America, or at least one that admits it. There are plenty of people that'll say, oh, I'm just a communist, and then you find out they're like a hardcore authoritarian communist. They're not like an anarcho-syndicalist. They're like a hardcore, we need to roll the tanks on people who disagree with us. Let's bring out the gulag kind of authcoms, right? And there are also lots of times when you think you're just talking to a normal fucking conservative dude, and then they hit you with the Jewish question. They start talking about how Jews own all the banks and the media companies and shit, and you're like, well, fuck. I thought you were okay. Okay, well, I can't have this conversation anymore because I thought you were normal, but now it's been revealed that you're a fucking Jewish question, fucking Hitler fascist, literal, like, rebirth of the SS motherfucker. And, you know, we're just not going to make a lot of headway. I'm still willing to talk to somebody like that, you know, mind you. But I think that there's a lot less chance of me getting through to somebody who's actively indoctrinated into neo-Nazi ideology than there is for somebody who's just on a pathway that could lead them there if they make the right series of wrong decisions, you know? Phoebe, thoughts on Nick Fuentes going scorched earth on Trump? Predictable. Predictable. I knew that the hardcore MAGA fascists. What's up, little man? I knew that the hardcore fascists and Nazi types that were supporting Trump, I knew they would eventually turn on Trump because he's not going to be anti-Israel. He's not going to be anti-Semitic. He's not going to be here are the boxes that Trump checks for a neo-Nazi. He's racist towards Mexicans and South American people in Central. He's sexist. He's kind of just generally bigoted, but that's it. He doesn't check the most important box for people like Nick Fuentes, which is, do you hate the Jews? And for all of Trump's flaws, he does not hate the Jews. For all of Trump's flaws, he's not an anti-Semite, which means that he cannot be lauded as a far-right, alt-right fucking Nazi hero for long. Literally. I knew back in 2016 that there would eventually come a day when Nick Fuentes himself would be railing against Trump. I knew there would eventually come a day when all of these neo-Nazi fucks would be railing against Trump. Because like I said, none of them can brook any fucking real conversation or friendship or allyship or anything like that with somebody who doesn't go along with their stupid line, with their stupid JQ bullshit. He might be saying it's about the Epstein files or something right now, but I don't think it has to do with that. I think Nick Fuentes has been looking for an excuse to ditch Trump for a long time, just like a lot of these alt-right conservatives weirdos were when they realized that Trump was going to be just as pro-Israel and just as pro-Jewish people as any other president. And by the way, I would also like Trump to not be pro-Israel, but I'm actually happy with the fact that he's not anti-Semitic, I've got a nuanced position on this, but I recognize that the neo-Nazis really don't. They want somebody who follows them to a T. They want somebody who agrees with everything they say. They want deference, and Trump didn't give them deference. They thought they had deference for a while. After North Carolina, after the Charleston rally and things like that. Man, they felt like they had a hero, an ally in Donald Trump. But now they've started to realize that they're not going to get the same kind of deference they thought they were going to get. Now they started to realize that Trump is, well, I guess for all of his flaws, he's not actually a full Nazi. He's got a lot of fascist tendencies, but he is not himself, he's not himself a fucking, genuine JQ level Nazi, You feeling good? Those little screams normally mean you're feeling pretty good. What? I love it. You guys can't see it, but whenever he looks at me in the eyes and I'm like, what? He just smiles and looks away. It's like, nothing. I just wanted to say hi. Oh. You want to sit back in your chair for a minute? Oh. Hold on. Whee! Ooh. Hot. It's not really hot, but it's warmer than I would like it to be now. We have 45 likes. I bet we could get that up to 50 with very little effort. He in jail. It was murder for hire. It got brought down to something else, though. He's literally cooked, though. He's getting life. He got 5 people killed over the years in a gang war. Got another dude killed last year over revenge for King Von. So he's cooked. He's getting life. Dude, yeah. Free Dirk. I like to meme about that, too, Tyson. Not necessarily Dirk. He's not my favorite one. My favorite one is Melly. That's who I'm always jokingly saying to free. Free Melly, dude. dope-ass song about your murders, and you're that there should be a rap snitches exemption. Free Melly. Wake up in the morning, I got murder on my mind. Elliot, I love that Californian weather being chill means 95 degrees. That is absurd. You were the one, Cummy Nipples. You were the one. You know, Cummy Nipples, if I wanted to verify that, that's a very simple question I could ask. Does Brett Keane actually live in Festus? If you drove the dagger into his door, then you know. If you drove the dagger into his door, then you know the answer to this. It's just very simple yes or no. I'm not asking you to dox the manatee, but does Brett Keane actually live in Festus? I know the answer. I know the answer because Missouri makes it astoundingly easy to dox criminals in their state. No, I know that because I lived in Festus most of my life. Ah, okay, fair enough. That's actually, wait, Cummy Nipples, you lived in Festus for most of your life? That is fucking really weird because I have never met another person from the DFF community that's from that area in Southeast Missouri. I grew up pretty much grew up. My parents divorced when I was 14. I moved up there. Park Hills, Missouri. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's literally like 30 minutes down the road from Festus if you go down 67. So interesting to meet another person from Southeast Mo down there. Festus sounds like a chronic disorder that old people get. It is pretty much a chronic disorder that old people get. Festus really is the Alzheimer's of small towns in Missouri. Festus is a horrible, shitty little fucking suburb of St. Louis that exists at the far southern tip of the St. Louis metro area. It's twin cities or sister cities with this, or whatever you want to call it, with a town called Crystal City. And Crystal City and Festus are basically two little towns that exist because Highway 67 crosses under and intersects with I-55, Interstate 55, and they have like a cloverleaf there of an exchange. They have a cloverleaf exchange there so you can get on the interstate or on and off the highway. And those towns, as near as I can tell, basically exist to service travelers leaving the St. Louis metro area and travelers going into the metro area. And as far as I can tell, that's the only reason they exist. The only reason they've ever existed. Those towns did not start really expanding and becoming places where people lived that weren't just farmers until the era of mining took over, basically, you know? I'm not shitting you. I actually lived there about 9 years of my life. That is fucking crazy. What's up, Ben? You know you're welcome in here. Even if you get fucked with a little, it's fine. We can handle it. I actually went to Crystal City Elementary. That's fucking nuts, dude. That is fucking nuts. Well, I guess now you know. Now you know that I'm legit, too. We know that each other are legit now. That's kind of cool. But yeah. No, I'm from that same neck of the woods, you know. That's why when I had my conversation with Brett Keane, that's why I thought maybe I would be able to get a little more leeway with them, maybe, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I was hoping for, but I was hoping, I guess, that my connection to his area would give him a little bit more consideration of my viewpoints, because Brett Keane seems like that kind of person, but I don't know. I don't know that it did. I'm a true Festus OG. So do you know where Brett Keane actually lives? Don't say the name of the town if you do. Don't say the name, just say yes or no. Because I think it's interesting. I want to see if this is I want to see if this is something that I've managed to discover that nobody else has, or if this is something that's maybe been covered by DP. Oof, we're only at 9%, so we're probably going to have to go soon. No idea. If I had to guess, I'd say Georgia. Oh, no, he lives in Missouri. No, he lives in Missouri. And he doesn't live that far from Festus, but I'm not going to say what town he lives in. But, you know, if you know his name and how to use Missouri CaseNet, you can find out for yourself. Oh, he's actually a Missourian? That actually makes sense. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Brett Keane really is from Missouri. Jesus. Go here in a minute. Number one, because my fucking goddamn phone won't stay fucking where it's supposed to. I don't know why. But anyway. Yeah, no, he actually is a Missourian. He really is from the area. Oh. But yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense if you think about Brett Keene's mannerisms and you think about people you grew up around in Missouri, especially that area of Missouri, dude. People around there, there's like 7 types of person in that area, and Brett Keane represents perhaps the most famous, you know? I don't mean him himself is famous. I mean that like there is a certain type of person that people from St. Francis County and Iron County and Jefferson County and shit like that. There's a certain kind of person that we're all familiar with, that we all, Washington County too. There's a certain kind of person we're all familiar with. Those of us who are DFF fans are familiar with it without even knowing it. But like all of those counties have little gossip pages, Facebook and shit, where you can see memes about this exact kind of person. People like Brett, people who have done functionally nothing with their life, who never planned to do anything with their life, people who are completely incapable of developing their talents or engaging in myriad interests to keep their life interesting. These kinds of people are everywhere. Drug abusing, highly addicted, and yet morally, like self-righteous bastards that have all of the worst habits you've ever seen in a human being, but think that they are the most moral and ethical and Christian person ever lived. I worked at Walmart for about 5 years and never saw him. That's how I was able to deduce he wasn't a Festus resident. Flimsy reasoning, I know, but Brett strikes me as the type that you couldn't miss if you saw him in public. Yeah, Brett is definitely the kind of guy. Well, he's said to be pretty tall. So if you think about that, right? If Brett really is pretty tall, then yeah, he's probably a pretty striking figure to see out in public. But yeah, no. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. Thank you guys for supporting the channel, as always. Thank you guys for hanging out, for all the likes. If you want to support the channel more, consider joining the membership. It's only like $2, I think, for the basic level, $5 for the more expanded level. And I will have more out for my members soon, but it's a great way to like passively support the channel if you like what we're doing over here. So thank you guys for hanging out, and I will see you guys later.